Welcome aboard the cosmic journey that is the Spirituality with Ashley podcast, where we dive deep into the mystical realms of metaphysics and spirituality. I'm your host, Ashley, a certified Akashic Records reader and energy healer and trained psychic medium. You're in the right place if you're ready to expand your consciousness and unlock the wisdom and insights that light up our path of self-discovery and growth. Come along with me on this journey of exploration where the universe speaks and we listen with open hearts. Let's dive in. Today, we have a truly special episode lined up for you. Whether you've been listening since the beginning, whether you're an OG for all 18 episodes, or if you're new to our community, I'm so glad you're here. As many of you know, I'm super passionate about sharing knowledge, education, and inspiration through the incredible world of spirituality and metaphysics, from Akashic Records readings to psychic insights and emotion code healing sessions. My goal is to open up these transformative experiences to as many people as possible. So today, I'm thrilled to welcome a very special guest, Brenda, who has graciously agreed to share her spiritual journey with us. Brenda has experienced some really cool shifts through some sessions that we've had. I've met with Brenda many times, and I believe her story will really resonate deeply with many of you. In this episode, we'll dive into her personal journey and explore some of the pivotal moments that led her to seek spiritual guidance in the first place. We'll talk about the type of sessions she's experienced, and we'll hear about the impact that these experiences have had on her life through getting these readings. So get comfortable, open your heart, and let's embark on this inspiring journey together. Without further ado, let's welcome Brenda to the show. Hey.
Hi, everybody. So happy to be here.
How are you doing? How's it going?
I'm good. I'm really excited and happy to be here.
Yay, same. I'm so glad that you're open to sharing your experience. I know that it can be weird to talk about your own personal spiritual stuff because it is like really personal. And like we
Yeah.
were just talking right before I hit record and I was saying like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I know you personally just from like being in your energy, like communicating with your guides." It's so wild and it is very personal. So I deeply appreciate, as I'm sure the audience does too, that you're so open and willing to share your story.
Of course. And I'm really happy that it could help somebody. When I was in their shoes and I was like, I need answers. So hopefully this help somebody out there.
Oh, I love that. Same. That's exactly what the goal is today. Okay,
Mhm.
so would you mind sharing a little bit about your spiritual journey? And to clarify, because we were talking about this before we hit record too, that like what exactly is a spiritual journey? Because when we were talking about it, I was like, oh, shoot. Well, actually, our lives technically are spiritual journeys. So when I'm really asking, when I ask, tell me like a little bit about your spiritual journey and how you got to where you are right now, is what was it that what piqued your interest as far as getting you to want to like recognize or acknowledge like, oh my gosh, there's more out there. Like there's something else. I want to understand my soul. I want to connect to like my higher self. I want to like communicate with my guides. Like
Yeah.
what was that for you that kind of got you started?
I feel like it started like 2 years ago. I had graduated from college and I feel like it wasn't so busy because of course school and I had two jobs. I didn't have time to think about purpose. I was just on the go, go, go. And then things slowed down and I was like, oh wow, like, is this just life? Is this what it is? And I felt like something had to be greater. There was more meaning to life. And being in the stillness of all things, I was like, and I started questioning, like, okay, does God exist? So what are my beliefs? And that's how I started, I would say. And then it also started, I've always really been into astrology, and then TikTok came about, and all of this astrology things come became on my For You page. And then that's when manifestation and all of these different topics came up, and I'm like, oh, that seems so interesting. And that's when I feel like it got together, everything got together, like, oh wow, there is definitely something bigger than us. And
Yeah.
it's so important like for me to tap into that.
Oh, I love that. So you just had the time and the space to be able to ask some questions. And then you're like, wait a minute, there's more. Like, that's so funny. I had the same during my second spiritual awakening. I had the same feeling. Like I was already into spirituality, but like it's like I just kind of like the picture I see in my head is like an elevator that kind of drops a little bit and like scares the crap out of you because you're like, whoa, like the elevator
Yeah.
dropped and it was like something sparked in me where I was like, what am I here for? What is my purpose? There's got to be more to life than like what I'm doing already. And it sounds like your
Yes.
experience was similar and it kind of just sent you on this open-ended exploration of like, what else is out there? Like, and I love that you mentioned astrology because same, like I've always been like, oh, what's my horoscope? I'm an Aries. And I know so much more about it
Mhm.
now where I'm like, I'm not just an Aries, but like, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, we're also like moon and rising and all of these different things. And I feel like when I came to like get a reading with you, I was at that point. I was in the thick of it where I was like, I felt lost. I was like, what is my purpose? And we have spirit guides, what that can guide us. And then life didn't feel like you were so alone. And
Yes. Oh my God. That comfort of like, oh my gosh, there is something else that I have this like support that's around me all the time, no matter what.
exact,
It is
exactly.
comforting.
And that made me feel more comfortable and just know like it's okay to feel lost. You will get there.
I love that. Okay. So so the first time I met you was during an Akashic Records reading. And
Mhm.
it's so funny. We've had a few, like, I met you last year, and like in each session, I noticed that like your consciousness, your universal awareness, like opened up more and more. It's so cool to like
Yes.
watch you shift, like from month to like every couple of months. You came in with like more God, I don't just awareness and openness and
Mhm.
understanding. It's so wild how quickly once you start making that shift, you kind of open up. And so what was it since you were at the beginning stages of like, oh, I know there's something else, but like, what is there? What was it that made you want to get an Akashic Records reading specifically? Because there's so many, like you could get a psychic reading, you can do numerology, you can get an astrology reading. Like, why were you like Akashic Records? Why did
Mhm.
that pique your interest?
I feel like at that point, like I said, I was really lost and I was like, I really wanted to know what my purpose was. And I was like, okay, maybe my spirit team can tell me what the hell my purpose is and what am I here for. And I think what spiked my interest about the Akashic Records is that you can ask different questions and they can be as depth or, as surface level as you want them. The more depth, the better. And that's what I learned. And I feel like the more that I booked the Akashic Records, the more deep it got because I realized how those deep things and those deep root problems are important for you to solve. And then the
Yes.
surface level is just surface and it's all because of a root problem. And I was like, okay, like I really want to heal those deep root things that I need to. And I feel like in that journey that I was in, I was able to find my purpose. I was able to just know and feel more connected with myself and my intuition.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Love that. That was an amazing answer. And I love that you brought up the types of questions that you asked. And that
Mhm.
was one of the things I noticed was like when you first came, the questions were very surface level, just kind of like you were like in a floaty on top of the water and you're just like sticking your toes in.
Yes.
Like, I want to know
Uh-huh.
about this. And I was just like, okay. And there's never any judgment. I was happy. I was happy you were there. And we started talking about some of the guidance and answers that you were getting. And then I noticed like in the next session and then the one after that, like your questions got a little bit deeper and we started getting more to the root
Yes.
and like really finding the underlying subconscious programs and behaviors, things you brought in from past lives that like you were
Mhm.
still carrying that were affecting your actions. And it was so cool that you were like, you took your time, which is wonderful. I tend to jump into things, and I love that you were like, I'm just gonna like you. I feel like you didn't let yourself feel pressure to get super deep immediately. Like you were really good about just whatever the guidance was that you got, you took that guidance and then you acted on it. Like you actually were implementing the stuff that your spiritual team, your Akashic Records keepers were giving you. And that's such an
Mhm.
important part that I want people to understand is like when you do
Yeah,
get that guidance, if you just get the guidance and then you sit with it and you're like, okay, and you just kind of wait for things to happen, like the way that you make the kind of shifts that you made so quickly, and the same thing happened to me, is like I would get guidance, you got guidance, and then you put it into play into your life. And like within a month or
yeah,
two, you'd already shifted like the way you were making decisions, what you wanted out of life, like the
yeah.
kinds of questions you were asking.
Mhm. A and I think that it was because I was just so ready. At that point when I came to you, I feel like it was like I was continuing to get these nudges of like, there's more to life, there's more out there, and I think that for me, I really discovered that, and I think that it was so important for me to, like, take the guidance that you were giving me and actually apply it because I was like, "If I don't take action, then there's gonna be no changes and your life is just gonna be the same." And so each time I was like, okay, what's something else that I need to work on? And I remember it was so funny that I would always start the sessions and you would tell me, I would be like, my first question, which you had already answered in the intro message, I would be like, what do my spirit guides want me to tell you? And you would start it with the intro. And I was like, wow, like you got it down. My spirit guides know what to tell me. And I think me wanting to know what the guidance that they wanted for me is a reflection of like just how serious I was taking it.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that. Because if you're not going to take the time to integrate, they're not going to give you the next steps. They're not going to give you that deeper level of information. And you can come and you can ask the same question, and you would ask similar questions, but it's because you were ready to get to the next level, and then you got different answers or different insight or a different perspective, which I think really helped you to get like a really big picture view, because sometimes you'll get guidance and you're like, that makes sense, but what do I do with this? So
Yeah,
I feel like they were really, can you speak to that? Like, do you have an example that you're willing to share about kind of like what that looks like?
it's so funny. I'm laughing because I remember specifically that my spirit guide told you like she's so stubborn, and like you told me like she and I was asking the same question, and I it was so funny, and they were like laughing. My spirit guides were laughing. They're like, "Oh my gosh, she's so stubborn," and I was like, "Oh my god, like these people know who I am." It's like it's true. And I remember you told me you were like, they're gonna tell you the way that they feel that you're gonna hear it because they know you the best.
Yes.
And it's so true. Every time that the way that they would speak to me, I got it. And I was like, okay, I got it. Like it makes sense. And even though I would ask the question another way, and they would be like, I remember it was so funny. And it was like me, like for the audience that doesn't know, I was like so stuck in like wanting to find my person and find someone. And I remember like each Akasha greeting I would be in, I would be like, okay, so am I gonna find my person yet? Or what do I need to do? And I would ask it in different ways. And my spirit guides were like, you're so stubborn. Like just focus on you. And when I got that when I got that message, I was like, okay, you're putting too much pressure on it and just go with the flow, live your life, and when it's gonna happen. And I feel like now that I look deep into it, I think it was just I wanted to find that person because it was to use that as a distraction for my life.
Yes, I love that insight. And that's the first time we've actually talked about that, which that makes so much sense. Yeah, because if you have your person, that external validation of your value, then you can be good and you don't have to do that for yourself. It gives you like a way to bypass that deep healing that you needed to get to.
Mhm.
Love that.
Exactly. And I feel like once I made that connection, I was like, okay, you got deeper work to do and that I need to embark myself in. So right now there's no finding no person or
Oh, I love
no
it.
soulmate right now.
I love that. And I like that you mentioned that your guides, like the way that messages come through, the images that I would describe to you, the way that I say stuff in readings is specifically for you because I'm channeling your information for you. You can do it yourself too. I love going to somebody else and letting them do it because it lets me let go of my emotional attachment to what I want to hear. And like, I love that you said that they say it in a way that you need to hear it because they know, like, your team, your guides know how to reach you and they understand how your brain works, how you operate. And so I love that you said that because, yeah, for a few sessions, you would just ask the same question. And then we got to a point where they said it to you in a certain way. And you were like, oh, and it was almost like the light bulb went off and you were finally satisfied with the answer. Like you understood, you did the work finally to get to that point where when they were like, work on you, stop worrying about it, and the person will find you. And you were like, oh, they
Oh,
need to work on me.
got it. Okay. Yeah, they finally, like the last time, I think they really shut it down. They were
Yeah.
like, girl, this
That's
is
so
it.
funny. They were very
Yeah.
gentle and nice about it though, which they always are.
Yeah, very loving in a loving way, but in a way that just enough that I can hear it and then move on from that idea
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, and help you to feel empowered to go on that healing journey that you needed to go on with yourself, which you are deep into now. And how is that going? How are you doing?
It's honestly, it has its ups and downs, and I feel like the healing journey, it's like gonna be forever, right?
Yeah.
Forevermore. It's just
Yeah.
you're never gonna be completely healed, and I feel like I discovered that, and I think that as it comes, as things come, like triggers come, I ask myself deeper questions of like, why am I getting triggered by this? And that's what's important for you to ask yourself. And I feel like that's what I've been doing, and just focusing on the now and not worrying about the future and like how is that going to look like more so right now. And it's just been amazing, and sometimes there's tears and it doesn't look so pretty, but honestly I'm just happy that I have the space to go through it
Oh my
and
gosh.
feel.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I like that you said that healing journeys are forever. It's not like this period in your life where you're just working on healing. And I also love that you said that the your healing journey and as it is for many of us is the awareness to be able to pay attention to how you're feeling, why you're feeling it, what that trigger is, what it means. A healing journey is not about making a list of all the things that are wrong with you. It's just an awareness of, I'm going to be more mindful about how I feel in this situation. And I want to understand myself more because I want to be able to show up in a way that feels good. It's not about fixing yourself. It's just about
Mhm.
understanding who you are so that you can really get in tune with what you want and where you want to go and what you need. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, and 100%. And I think also with like your family, like I remember like with my own family, like why do they trigger me so much, or
Oh my
certain
gosh,
people?
dude.
And it's right.
Yes.
And I came to discover that it could be because you both have had a lot of lives, past lives, that there's a lot of karma, a lot of baggage, and a lot of things that you feel your soul feels that, and their soul feels that. So it sometimes it's deeper, and it transcends from a lot of lifetimes that we're not even consciously
Yeah.
aware of.
Yes. Yeah. And I remember I remember one of the sessions that was one of your questions. And it's so weird because I don't normally remember what happens in sessions, but that session, I do remember when one of your past lives came up because I remember I was explaining to you what I was seeing and then I was interpreting it. And then I was like, hold up. We were both like, hold up. This doesn't make any sense.
Right,
We were
yeah.
like, wait a minute, how is this my guide and my like sibling in this life?
Really, yeah.
And that opened up a whole other like avenue for me. Like I learned like, oh, holy crap, I didn't know that like a soul could be in so many places at one time and have different roles in your life. Like it was very eye-opening. And so I love that I get to learn from readings with people and the past life stuff is so juicy. I love I love when people ask me
Honestly,
questions about it. And because it is so eye-opening. It really helps. In your case, it really helped to kind of explain your family dynamic and why you felt the way you did in your family system. it gave you so
Mhm.
much, like, I'll let you talk about it. It was your experience.
Yeah, honestly, it was very validating for me because I was like, why do I feel this way? And at some point, like you even think like, am I wrong or am I selfish for needing this space or feeling the way that I feel? And my intuition was almost like there has to be something. And of course, like we've had our fair share in this life, but just hearing that from you and telling me like, oh yeah, you both have, in the past lives you've had like things and issues arise. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like there are things that I need to heal from this life and then past lives. So that's where and I was like, okay, a day at a time and validate myself. And when I have those feelings or I'm feeling the need to not spend as much time with them or isolate, I was like, okay, there's things that I need to work on and it's okay.
Yes, exactly that. It can be so validating to hear information that aligns with what you're already living or what you already know or kind of how you feel. And I feel like that what often happens during readings, whether it's an Akashic Records reading or a psychic reading, is you hear information and it's validating because you're like, oh, like on some level you knew it. So it makes sense to you. You just weren't able to like articulate exactly what that thing was. But when you hear it, it's like it puts the last piece of the puzzle in place and then you have the big picture. And that can
Exactly.
be healing in itself because just that level of understanding.
100%. It gives you a lot of peace and it gives you, like I said, the validation that you needed. And it just tells you like, give yourself what you need.
Yeah.
And this is what I need. Mhm.
Have you noticed any, and you've already spoken about a few, but when I ask you, like, have you noticed any shifts or had any revelations or changed anything about the way that you live your life after receiving the guidance that you've received? Like, can you speak to that a little bit just to kind of give examples of how it can be helpful when you are willing to kind of explore that avenue?
Oh my God. I don't even know where to start. I have so many more. I feel that I used to be such an overthinker.
Oh my
And
gosh, same.
remember?
Every time I'd be like, they're saying to get out of your head again.
Oh, that would be the intro message all the
Every
time.
time.
And I remember one time I was like, Ashley, I did it. I'm not in my head. And for me, it was like not in my head as much, right? I was making
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah.
And then I remember you telling me, they're telling me that you need to get out of your head. I'm like, oh shoot, I thought I was. But no, now that I am in a much better space and I feel like I'm not like literally overthinking at all, if at all. Now I understand what they were saying. And I feel like it just helps so much. And I remember when they told me like you need to increase your spiritual practice, like meditation and breathing. I started applying it. Who knew that actually doing the techniques work? So I started doing them and they work. And and I remember that I asked them like what specific techniques, right? Like are gonna be helpful for me. And they told me the breathing, the counting, and that's what exactly what I've been doing. And it's true, they know you. So I feel like that was one of the biggest things that I needed I needed help and like to heal and stuff because it was affecting my sleep. It was just really bad.
Yeah, I
And
understand.
yeah. And another one I would say was the self-love,
Oh
like
my gosh. Yeah, that's
uh,
huge.
that was a huge one for me, the self-love. And of course, I'm still in that journey, the self-worth and feeling worthy of having the things that I want, um, of being worthy of love and connection and all of these things. And I feel like now I'm in that space where I'm still in that journey, but I feel that I have made tremendous progress from where I was.
Oh my gosh, you have, man. You have. So I'm so glad that you're recognizing that in yourself. And, self-love is such a huge thing. I feel like most of us, like 99.9% of the population has at least a little bit of like self-love stuff, whether it's constant or just
Mhm.
occasionally shows up and and it comes up in readings so often. And we're not going to get into like the societal implications of why that is.
Oh,
But I was wondering because it
Yeah.
is such a popular, like, and I don't say popular like trendy, but I mean since it is such a helpful topic that so many people are interested in, would you mind sharing like some of the stuff that you're doing for self-love? Like what that kind of looks like for you, what they suggested, how you've been implementing it?
Yeah. So for me, like I remember like when people would say like self-love and love yourself and like it's so like broad and I would always be like, what does that even mean? Like give me
Yeah.
practical
Like
techniques.
abstract. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like for me now it's like taking care of myself and loving myself the way that I would want someone else to love me.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So
That.
that would be like I would always love like getting flowers. And like that's one of my biggest things. Like I love
Yeah.
flowers. And so like now I get myself flowers. I tell myself how beautiful I am in the
Yes.
morning. I look at myself in the mirror. I'm telling myself, "Wow, you look so beautiful." Um, and just taking care of myself the way that I would want someone else to take care of me. And that has been so helpful for me because it's like now I'm filling my own cup and I'm feeling whole. Like I don't really need
Yes.
someone. And that's what
Yes,
I
that
need.
makes me so happy. Oh my gosh, you guys have no idea how like this transformation, like that's, I'm so excited to hear that. That just, yeah, you're making my whole day. I'm so
Oh,
happy for
thank
you.
you. Thank you. I know. And I think also my spur guys told me one time in a reading that like I was like, oh shoot, that they told me you don't really recognize how much progress you've made. They told me like you haven't taken the time to actually like reflect on that. And I was like, you know what, you're right. Like you're right, spirit guys. You got a
You
point.
right?
I hear you. So now I do. And now I'm like, and so from time to time, I'd be like, I take like 5 minutes and I'm like, wow. Like, let's like not even go as far as like a year, but like even 6, 7 months from now, um, I've done a tremendous change. And I think that's what's important. Like recognizing, I think that's what self-love is too, is recognizing your progress and being
Yes.
patient with yourself.
Yes, holy crap, I love that. Though those are such huge things. And I was actually just talking to my I was just talking to my therapist about this because
Yeah.
I feel like we're kind of like socialized and always encouraged, like the next milestone, like what else can you do? And we're not, well, you are now, and I'm really trying to take the time, even if you have to like add it to your calendar, if you're like me and you just want to go, go, go all the time, and probably like you, and like
Mm-hmm.
taking, you're right, like even if you're just taking like 2 to 5 minutes to just be like sit in your glory. Like I
Yes.
have come so far because it can be so overwhelming when you're working on yourself, and that can become its own trap. Like you always have something to fix. You're not good enough because you're
Oh,
just moving on to the next thing
yes.
that's wrong with you and you're not doing this right. So I love
100%.
I love that you mentioned that for self-love, having the patience with yourself, giving yourself grace, and then
Mm-hmm.
actually taking that time to acknowledge, like, this is where I was, and now this is where I am. And even if it's just one step, that is one step away from the thing that it didn't feel great. And this feels a little bit better. And that in itself is self-love because you're trying to move toward a you that feels good and that you're proud of and that you're happy with. And we're all perfect the way that we are. So it's not like we're moving toward being proud or happy with ourselves. It's just a perspective shift to be able to see
Mm-hmm.
the the amazing, beautiful souls that we are and and give ourselves the space. Cause I'm an overthinker too. And like,
Yeah.
I absolutely relate with like having a hard time sleeping and being in my head and always questioning. And like, I just want to know why and I want to know how and tell me how to get there. And like, I don't it's been a struggle for me too to like take time, and usually what'll happen is I'll get super sick, and that just happened last week.
Mm.
You get super sick and then I have to lay on the sofa for a week and then it's nothing but me and Netflix and my thoughts, and
Oh.
I was sick and I felt crappy, but I actually had a lot of revelations when I was just laying there doing nothing, and it's because I wasn't taking the time to give myself that space to relax because I was like, no, I need to achieve this. I need to heal this. I need to like make an appointment with this person and I need to get another reading and I need to like, so I love,
100%.
love that you mentioned that.
Yes, and, like, even when you were talking about another thing that was really big for me was, like, even just sitting down and just being present. Like you said, I was always on the go, 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 and now I'm like, take the time to appreciate where you are right now and look at the trees, breathe,
Yes.
like
Breathe.
like, that's a big one. Like, if I just learn to breathe and I remember, like, my spirit guides would tell me, like, "Just you're not breathing enough." And I'm like, "You're right." And now every time I remember, I'm like, "Take a deep breath, like, you need to breathe." So, I think that's very important as well.
Yes, being mindful, like being in the moment, not chasing future goals every single second. Like it's cool to have goals, it's cool to be ambitious, but it's also like we need to enjoy our lives right now. The past does not exist
Yes.
anymore. The future literally doesn't exist yet. Like this moment is all we have. So if we're not actually taking the time to enjoy our lives and like stop in the moment and appreciate what we have, like
Yeah.
that's such a great gratitude practice. Like
Yes.
think like what am I thankful for right now? Like I'm so happy that I get to connect with you on this podcast. I'm so
Mhm.
happy we can have these conversations. Like that I have a voice that I can speak. There are people who literally can't speak. Like we have so much to be
Exactly.
grateful for when you take time to slow down in the moment.
100%. And I also think that for me, I was also very, like, planner and logical, and I couldn't logic myself
Oh
through
my
it. I
gosh.
would
Yeah.
just be like, I needed to figure it out, but I learned that it's okay not to have it figured out.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay, and also that finding your joy, following your joy. Like, what is it that
That
you wanna do? That's where the money is at. That's where the
literally.
gold pot. Follow your joy. If you can just do one thing, is follow your joy,
Oh,
and it
God.
would take you where you need to go.
That's the perfect little like wrap up. That right there. And I swear your intuition's so on point because my next question was gonna be like, what's your advice or practical tips? And like that's
There.
it. Follow your joy. It's yeah, I I love that. And actually, I am still gonna ask you the question like at first, because I know this came up for you, like your guides, and I don't actually remember what happened, but I just am getting the feeling like I feel like your guides told you that because you were like, what am I supposed to do? Like, am I supposed to stay in my
Mhm.
job right now? Am I supposed like I know and you just you were all over the place. And they were
Oh,
like,
girl.
what do you want? I think they had me ask you the question, like, what do you want? And you were like, I don't I don't know. What am I supposed to want?
You're supposed to tell me what I want and what
Yeah.
I need to do.
So how did you get in touch? And it's funny, I had a tarot reading last year and that was in the middle of the year and that was a question that the tarot reader um Courtney Hennigan, by the way, love to promote her. She's an amazing tarot reader. Um she one of the questions that came through that she channeled was like think about what brings you joy. Like, what does joy mean to you? What does that look like? What are the things that embody that for you? So, how did you find your joy? Because when I heard that, I was so overwhelmed. I was like, what? Where do I even start? How am I supposed to find my joy? I don't have time. I'm so busy. I have all these things I need to take care of. And like, I couldn't even fathom creating the time to sit and think about what I wanted because I was so busy just trying to push and push and push and do and do
Yeah.
and do and figure it out and then get overwhelmed and stressed and not be able to sleep. So, how did you find your joy?
I feel like I started paying more attention to what excites me. It's like I started following excitement, like, does that passion of mine, does that excite me to do? Do I when I envision myself doing it, does it bring me, happiness and peace and these different emotions, right? And I think that's what really started that. And even little things like does it excite me more to go eat at McDonald's or, what excites me more? Even like little things like that. And that's the little things that putting in your day is what's so important. Little things. Or like taking a bath. Like the other time, like it was the first time I ever took a bath in years. I
Oh
put
my
some rose
gosh.
petals, and I know that's what my spirit guides
Yes.
told me to do. And I'm like, wow, I'm doing it. And this actually sounds exciting to do. And those little
Oh,
things.
yeah. I love that. Yeah. If you don't know what your passion is, if you don't know what your joy is, that's amazing advice. Just start with the little things.
Hmm.
What do I feel like eating? Would I rather eat this or am I more excited about that? Like, do I want the salad or do I want like a steak? Like, and just
Yeah.
start with the little things so that you can get used to what it feels like to give into that excitement, to follow the
Mm.
good, the better feeling and
Yes.
just take it from there. And as you do that, you'll start realizing like, oh, this or that, that thing that makes me feel better. That was amazing advice. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course. Of course. And I think that's something I struggle with too. So I think that's practical things that can get you on that journey to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, this was such an amazing conversation. Thank you so much, Brenda, for being here, for opening up and being honest and sharing your stuff. Like, thank you so, so much. I really appreciate you. I'm sure the audience appreciates you.
Oh, of course. I'm so happy to be here and I'm so happy that you asked me to join.
Yeah, yeah, I'm happy to do it. Alrighty, guys, we're gonna wrap up. So, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate the podcast and give it a follow. Share the episode on social media or with a friend who may benefit from the information that we talked about. And stay mindful, stay focused, and keep believing in yourself. Until next time, keep dreaming big and living your best life. See you in the next episode.